Hey, morning, everybody. It is Monday, February 4th, and we're going to start a new spiritual discipline this week. We're going with CE8, CE8 fasting, CE8 fasting there, and we're going to do this one for this week. Now, when it comes to fasting, I'm guessing that a good number of you never tried this before, and that's okay. Good news for you, you're going to try it this week. And I'm guessing some of you have tried it before and it didn't do anything for you whatsoever. I'll tell you, the very first time that I fasted, it was a colossal waste of my time. The only thing that happened was I got good and hungry, and I got mean, hangry by the end of the day. That was it. There was no spiritual benefit to it whatsoever. And then I suppose there's a few of you that have fasted and you've derived some benefit from that there. But I'm thinking most of us either haven't done it before, we've done it, and it just didn't go very well. And so what I've done though, so I did it that first time. This was a number of years ago that I tried fasting for the very first time. It was awful. I hated it. Decided I wasn't going to do it anymore because it wasn't my thing. But then I kept coming back to it. It was like, but fasting shows up in the Bible. And sometimes the people were told to fast. Whatever fasting is, God sees value in it. And so I thought, maybe I needed to give it another try. So I studied it. I tried it, studied it, tried it, studied it, tried it. I kind of came up with a system that I find really helpful for me, at least, and I hope it benefits you. Now we're just gonna do 7 days, and I want to let you know in advance that this will be the first time we fast, but it won't be the last time we fast, because in a month we're going to be doing Lent, and I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge us all to do a 40-day fast, and so that's. But if you've never done fasting before, I think that's going to be too much for you. So we're going to start. We're going to start with a 7-day fast to just kind of give you a feel for how it can go, so that when we get to the 40-day fast, you'll know what it is that's coming, and you'll know how to better prepare your mind and your heart, and even just to kind of choose what it is that you do there. So, all right, here's what it comes down to. What I found, this was a game changer for me, was identifying the why before I identify the what. I think the problem a lot of people get into, at least the problem I got into with fasting, was I chose what I was going to fast from before I decided why it was I was going to fast. And so I chose no food because that seemed to be the biblical precedent, but I wasn't really sure why. When I listen to people, what they give up for Lent, they'll give up things like meat for Lent. I don't understand that. They'll give up things like Starbucks for Lent. I don't understand that. And I guess it's not my job to, understand what it is that everybody's doing. But as I've watched people do these, they give up different things for Lent. The majority of them, I find, don't derive any spiritual benefit from it whatsoever. And I think it comes down to because they pick the what before they pick the why. And once you pick the why, it's actually really helpful for picking the what. So what I did was here, and actually we'll go to our notes now. All right. So, okay, you start here at number 1 here. This is to identify why it is you're fasting. I went through, did a scriptural study, and just identified, was it 4, 8, 9 of the fasting that I saw in the Bible. I saw 9 different reasons why it was they fasted. And this is a pretty great list to start with. And so when you start asking a question like, why am I going to fast this week? I suppose the initial answer is because Jeff is making us fast. But move beyond that and just start going through. What I encourage you is start going through this list. I'll look at the biblical reasons why people fasted. And I'd encourage you to pick one of those. There's actually a number of reasons why they fasted in the Bible there. And so you can see here what I did was this isn't this week. This is the last time that I did my fasting. There I went through and I read through. I read each one of them, and then I'd put a star next to the one that I liked that stood out to me, and I started with 5 of them. And I didn't fast for 5 reasons. I went through, and then I thought, okay, of those 5, which do I like the best? And I narrowed it down to 3. That's what these three stars, second stars are. There's like, okay, of those 3, what do I like the best? I like these 2. And then ultimately, I wound up that the reason I was going to fast was I was going to fast to seek deliverance and protection. And then, which is kind of similar to H, which was I fasted to overcome temptation and dedicate myself to God. That was the reason that I was going to fast. All right, now let me tell you why it is that was so helpful for me. Let me flip this around again. Because when I identified the why, I was then able to identify the what. And when I started getting into, I'm going to fast to overcome temptation and dedicate myself to God, it changed what it was that I picked that I was going to fast from. And so I started to, if you were to, maybe I even should put the sentence in your notes, but it's the kind of fill in the blanks. If I were to block out a good chunk of time to gain blank, I would blank. Right? So, like, if I were to, let's say I wanted to learn how to play the guitar. So if I were to block out a good chunk of time to gain guitar ability, I would blank. And then I then start picking what it is that I'm going to structure into my week and what it is I'm going to give up in order that I could learn how to play guitar, right? And so in part, now the fasting is not meant to be exclusively pragmatic. Part of it is you are going to war with your desires. And fasting is meant to be difficult, but on some level. But for the most part, what it was helping me with the what was, like, I realized, like, if I'm going to overcome temptation and dedicate myself to God, the letter H, I think the fast that's going to be more helpful for me, at least when I did it this time, was it was going to be a fast from screens. No TV, no social media, no phone, no internet, other than just, what I needed to do to get my job done. And instead of doing my normal things, I would give that stuff up in order that I could clear my mind to have God do this work in me. There. And so that's like, it's identifying the why. I want to overcome temptation, dedicate myself to God. And now the what is part of what I'm going to fast from is the things that are keeping me from overcoming temptation and dedicating myself to God. And so what I was doing, the unhealthy rhythms I was in, was I would go through my day and I would carry with me the stresses and the anxieties of the day. And then I'd get to the end of the day and all I'd want was escape. That's all I'd want. I just want to escape from the feelings. And so then I turn on the TV or I jump on social media and I start mindlessly scrolling through stupid things in order that I could just get a reprieve from feeling things. And what was happening was that my spirit wasn't being strengthened so that I could face temptation. I was just, I was becoming a spiritual couch potato. I'm getting on all kinds of spiritually fat. And so part of what the fast was is like, let's remove those things that are causing me to get so spiritually fat and take a break from those things for a while in order that I might focus my mind and my heart on the work that I believe that God wants me to do in this, and that was to overcome temptation and dedicate myself to God. So the what became a removal of screens, and then that's where you get into number 2 here is plan what you're going to do. And I said eating just because, biblically, by far, fasting is giving up of food. I think you can legitimately give up things other than food and still be considering it a fast. But anyway, plan what you do instead of eating. So it's not just I'm not going to eat or I'm not going to do screens. It's here's what I'm going to do in place of that there. And so it's right? And so it'd be, all right, I'm going to get to the end of the day, and at 8 p.m. when I normally flip on the TV, instead of flipping on the TV at 8 p.m., I'm going to read my Bible. I'm going to pray. I'm going to listen to a sermon. I'm going to listen to music. Spend some time in worship, but whatever. And it wouldn't necessarily be the same thing every day, but it was pretty similar things most days there. So it's like, so step one, like, why are you going to fast? And then just like, what is it I need to give up in order to accomplish that? And now what am I going to do instead of the thing that I was doing prior, the thing that I'm taking a break from there? There, number 3, you can fast from other food. All right, and then number 4 is I like this is that don't think of white elephants. Let me throw that one around again. Number 4, don't think of white elephants. That I don't know where I got that language from, but I liked it in that. What a lot of times we do with fast is we'll sit around and think about how hungry we are. Right? And just sit there and think like, man, I could really use some TV tonight. And then we just sit there and think further about how great the TV would be or how great a cheeseburger would taste right now. It's like, no, don't think about that. And if you only read one sentence on this entire page, it would be the very last sentence on the whole page is that choose instead to turn your mind to Christ and the reason you are fasting. And so when you feel those desires coming up, if I really want to go and do this thing, like when you feel those cropping up, gain control of your mind and turn it to Christ and the reason you're fasting. It's like, okay, the fact that, and I think this is a lot of what fasting does, is it reveals desires. And as our desires are coming out and saying, I really want to go eat this, or I really want to engage in this activity that I'm taking a fast from, let that serve as a cue, like a flag pops up in your head that says, okay, the reason, the fact that I want to watch TV today is a reminder to me that I wish to be with Christ. And it's a reminder to me that I've chosen to fast, that I might overcome temptation and dedicate myself to God, or whatever it is that you're going to pick there. There, and then respond accordingly to that. But don't just sit around and think about how much you've lost, because then what winds up happening is that, you know what the exciting part is of Easter when you fast for Lent. The exciting part of Easter is that's the day you get your stuff back, and boy, what a miss that would be. It's no the point of the fast is to draw our hearts to whatever it is God is wanting to do in us, whether it's to seek deliverance, which by the way, that fast would involve a truckload of prayer, and when I didn't get into that one here, but that was when I picked that fast. It was a lot of praying, because that's, for me at least, that was what deliverance was connected to. There, but anyway, as you go through, you'll see that. So again, identify why you're fasting. I'd encourage you to pick one of those 9 reasons and share that with your group, and then plan on what you're going to do instead of eating, and then don't sit around and think about all the things that you've lost. All right, now another note, and you may not agree with me completely on this one. One of the things that the Bible says is that when we fast, we're not supposed to broadcast it. Don't be like the Pharisees that will, stand on the street corner and announce loudly to everybody. I'm totally butchering the passage, but they will announce loudly to everybody, look at how godly I am because I'm fasting. And I realize that this is a discipline. What we're going to say is, I want you to pick a fast and I want you to share it with your group. I don't think this is a violation of this, just from the standpoint of there was a lot of times in the Bible when they would call for a fast and everybody would know that everybody else was doing it. Like when Esther called for a fast, she announced to Mordecai, I'm going to fast, and I think that encouraged the Jewish people to do this with me. Anyway, there's just a number of instances where it would be known that people were fasting, but don't broadcast it as some great godly thing. So when I do this, I'm going to share with my group what I choose to do. I'm going to share with my wife what I choose to do, and that's pretty well going to be it. And I hope my motives in this are pure, and that I'm not going to share these with them so that they'll be impressed with how godly I am, like the Pharisees were, but just more of, as my brothers and as my wife, they can encourage me and I can be of encouragement to them as we explore this discipline together there. So anyway, all right, this one's going to be a hard one. Might be the hardest one we've done yet, and I like that. I like that we're going to do something you find difficult. It'll be good for you there. And but if you have questions at all, and shoot them out to me. And by all means, don't be afraid to have this one be really hard and really cumbersome. That's okay if it just doesn't go well. Don't let that be the reason that you don't do this. Let it be hard and learn from it. The Bible has fasting as a big part of the way that people responded to God and responded to life. So it's worth our time in learning. All right, anyway, blessings.